Howdy, guys. Welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. We're looking at all the action that took place in night 11 of the Big Brother All-Stars. Turned out to be a long night. Everyone, they picked the veto competition participants early this morning, waited all day long and well into the evening before they finally kicked off the competition. We just now have a winner, so I'm not going to bury the lead. We'll talk about that first, and then we'll cover what happened the rest of the night. But here you go. Big Brother veto competition. Veto players, Memphis, Nicole Anthony, and David, as expected. Also, Ian, Nicole Franzel, and Tyler were competing. The winner was Memphis. Memphis won the competition. It sounds like some type of strength, grip, bicep type competition. Sounds like they had to hold some kind of a paddle, heavy paddle with a heavy ball on it, maybe do a little bit of moving around, not really sure, but a little bit of strength involved. A couple of things that came out of it. Apparently Nicole Anthony didn't do so well. That her hands started shaking, the board started shaking. She lasted about 10 seconds is all. I have heard some people, I think it was Davon, that said Tyler threw the competition. She says he was doing fine. All of a sudden he shook it, and it just obvious that he threw the competition. David apparently did pretty well. Not sure if he came in second or not, but apparently he was up there for quite a while. But eventually it was Memphis who held out, and everyone said that he just looked solid as a rock. So now Memphis is the veto winner, and we'll cover that a little bit as we go through what happened overnight and see what the implications of that might be. So there you go. All right. Before that happened, though, let's talk about some of the other ongoing things that have happened late afternoon, early evening. First of all, as y'all are probably aware, they had the safety competition, which Christmas won. She put Ian up as her safety +1. In exchange for him getting safety, he also got a punishment. Well, we now know what his punishment is. It's basically he has to dress in space outfits, and whenever called by Big Brother, he has to act out a space opera. Very cheesy, very corny space opera kind of thing I'd absolutely love. He's got costumes. He's having to play 2 or 3 roles. I think the first time or two he did it, some of the other house guests were there watching. They're already through at that. He's got like one person watching every time he does it. So Ian's got the punishment of doing a space opera and being very melodramatic as he goes through these corny scripts and such. Pretty cool costumes. But he had that. Now let's talk about some of the discussions that happened. I thought it was going to be kind of a quiet night because everyone was waiting for the veto competition. There was a little gameplay talk, but for the most part, people were just resting and relaxing and just spending all evening waiting. I think this thing kicked off, I don't know, 1 o'clock or so, Houston Central Time, so about 11 o'clock, midnight their time. I could be off a little bit. It's been a long night, but they finally kicked off. Man, it lasted probably 2.5, 3 hours. It seems like it was a long competition, or at least the feeds were off for a long period of time. Man, I'm ready to go adopt some animals. I don't know why that suddenly popped into my head, but the Big Brother theme and little cute animals I'm going to have dreams about them tonight. There you go. All right, some discussions that we'll get into just to cover some things that happen and may have some impact later. First of all, Janelle and Kaiser talking. They're feeling a little bit on the ropes. They're realizing that the numbers very well could be stacked against them. Not a lot of kind words for Kevin. They're upset about the fact that Kevin is telling everyone that Janelle and Memphis are working together. And with that being said, now they're feeling, Janelle and Kaiser are feeling very, very threatened. People are seeing them as a bigger threat. If Memphis wins the veto, which we now know he did, they really want to convince him to backdoor, pull one of the nominees off, backdoor Nicole Franzel. Otherwise, they feel like Nicole or that side is coming for them next week, and they're probably right. They thought about telling him that Kevin is throwing him under the bus, linking him to Janelle, but they're worried if they do that Memphis is just going to be gung-ho to put Kevin on the block. Maybe now that he's won a veto, pull someone off, put Kevin up, and send him out the door. And they don't necessarily want that either. They want the other side. They want the closers, I think is the alliance name that we're hearing now. They want Nicole Franzel, someone from that side, gone. So for now, they're not going to tell Memphis what Kevin's been saying about them. It's funny. They mentioned, they said, Memphis wants to work with us. Bailey and Davon wanted to work with us. Nicole Anthony wants to work with us, but none of them necessarily want to be part of a big alliance. It's all these little side deals. They're all approaching saying, hey, I'd love to work with you. And it may be people just covering their backside in case Janelle or Kaiser get an HOH power here a little bit on down the road. But anyway, a lot of people want to perhaps work with them, but not necessarily official alliances and too much out in the open. They start counting their votes, and they're quickly realizing they probably don't have the votes to vote out the other side. So it's going to have to come down to the pull probably Nicole Anthony off and get someone else up, and then with Nicole's vote, with perhaps getting Kevin's vote if they still can, Christmas's vote. They're playing different ways if they could possibly then send out the other side. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough. It's really funny. Both sides are wanting to approach Memphis about backdooring the other side. Cody, Tyler, the closers, all the different alliances on the new school side want Memphis to basically backdoor Janelle. Kaiser and Janelle are wanting to backdoor Nicole Franzel, as I mentioned. So they're both wanting to do that. But the problem is that Memphis probably doesn't want to take that big a risk. In fact, he said such a little bit later. Especially when he's playing in a safety competition next week. So he feels like he has two opportunities to stay safe, and is thinking that there's other people that are bigger targets in the next few weeks. So if he doesn't do anything to really upset a strong person, that he probably won't be the target in return. So from a personal standpoint, it makes sense. From a working with an alliance standpoint, he's got the rest of the alliance upset. The way he called out the two people on the block yesterday, and now the fact he's not really willing to work with either of these alliances or any alliances, it's got a lot of people upset. Memphis better be a little careful. I think his game could be in jeopardy if he doesn't soothe over some relationships. All right, so what else going on? Kaiser and Janelle talking to Memphis later in the HOH room. And again, one thing he said, I'm not making any decisions until the veto competition occurs. Then we'll talk. He did say he was not going to backdoor if he won the veto. He said, if Nicole Anthony wins, then yeah, maybe a backdoor is an option. But if I win, I'm not doing it. I'm leaving it alone. You won. So we very well could have, and I kind of expect to see Nicole Anthony and David on the block come Thursday. Maybe wrong, but that's what I'm forecasting right now, based on what Memphis has said. Now, let's see. One thing Memphis is telling him, saying, I'm not worried about this alliance of four: Cody, Tyler, Nicole Franzel, and Danny. And that's what Kaiser and Janelle keep saying. You got to watch out for those guys. If you don't do something to break that up, we're in trouble. He's saying, I'm not worried about them. They never last anyway. Well, Memphis and Christmas are kind of part of that group anyway. So, yeah, he's not worried, but he's not letting on to that effect. So, another conversation. Kaiser and Janelle, again, they basically have decided to form an alliance with Bailey and Davon. They wanted to have Memphis as part of it as well, but Memphis just really, in talking to them, they've decided they're going to go ahead and start that alliance right now, but put out feelers, try to develop it. They'll bring in Memphis later. They also want to talk to Christmas and potentially bring her in also. Bailey and Davon are talking. Kind of interesting conversation. Again, Bailey and Davon are playing a good middle of the road game. And I think they'll have a lot of influence. But Bailey is going to work with Janelle. Davon's going to work with Kaiser, and they're talking about splitting their Thursday votes to make it tougher for either side to think that Bailey and Davon have sided with one group or the other. They're going to split the votes and try to stay that middle of the road for a little bit longer. But each of them is going to go after one side of the Janelle Kaiser duo, and just see what kind of information they can get, see if they get in close with them and protect themselves for a little bit later down the road. What's going on? Danny talking to Janelle. All right, now this is kind of a tough one. Danny was talking to Janelle about a possible alliance with the two of them, Kaiser, Nicole Franzel, and maybe Tyler or Cody. I don't think Danny's serious. I think this is just a way for her to protect herself a little bit, maybe see if she could get some information, play a little more tricky by suggesting that, but I think it's going to cause her problems. One, Janelle is now using Danny approaching her as confirmation that quartet exists. That was her confirmation that Danny kind of gave to her by suggesting this alliance. The other thing is that I've also heard that Tyler later heard about this, and so now he's become a little bit distrustful of Danny. I'm hearing a lot of people talking that even the ones who are working with Danny in alliances, it seems like there's a lot of people that are just a little mistrustful of Danny right now. So she could be on the ropes if she isn't careful. I think she needs to take care of some relationships because she just doesn't have that trust factor with a whole lot of people on that side. So there you go. What else is going on? Just one or two quick other things. Davon and Danny talking again, and let's see. Davon told Danny, Davon told Danny that Nicole Franzel was being looked at as a backdoor, and Danny immediately says, "Well, where did you hear this from?" And Davon, at first she said, "Well, Cody told me," and Danny said, "Cody didn't tell me anything about that." Well, be careful there, because I think Davon, I don't know if Davon picked up on it or not, but Davon did mention later that Danny and Cody seem to have a very tight relationship with each other. That anytime she says something to Danny, just a little bit later, Cody comes over and says, "Hey, Danny said that this, and now Danny is saying, well, Cody didn't tell me that." And so they're kind of indicating that the two of them are very tight. So they need to be careful. But originally, Davon had said, "Cody told me that." And when Danny questioned her a little bit, she said, "Well, no, actually, I think it was Nicole Anthony who told me." So that may create some fireworks, some, what actually occurred, who actually said it, and things like that. So we will see on that as well. Bailey did talk to Tyler and mentioned that Janelle is really worried about him and Cody working together. And she, just like Davon earlier in the evening, talked to Tyler about coming into their alliance. So they're really trying to make some overtures to Tyler and try to develop this little group. So now, where are we at? Again, there were some discussions, but for the most part, people are just waiting for this competition, which has now occurred. So where are we at? Memphis won the veto. I don't think he's going to change the results unless someone really gets in his ear, or if word gets out that that Kevin has been trashing his name or linking him with Janelle. Maybe he pulls someone off just so he can put Kevin up. That may be a strategy for someone who's on the block to make some kind of mention and try to create a bigger target. Will they do it? Maybe not, but something to think about as a whatever it takes for me to survive kind of strategy for those who are on the block. But I don't expect that to happen. I think it'll be Nicole Anthony and David on the block. It's tough. There's people trying to sell Nicole Anthony that she will be very loyal, that she feels betrayed by Janelle and Kaiser, and she will come over and do what she can on that side. But there's other people, Cody in particular, who is saying, nah, she just got through telling us she was part of that group. And yeah, maybe she's saying now that she's with us and all that. But if they get HOH, she'll be right back over there with them. So I don't trust her at all. I don't care. I want her to go home. So Cody very much, I think, would want to keep David in that particular situation. There's people like Enzo and some of the women who maybe wouldn't. It's early. We're going to find that out over the next couple of days. Veto ceremony is going to be on Monday, so we've got 36 hours or so, something like that, to less than that, or no, about 40 hours. Anyway, we got some time before that happens, and then we'll figure out how the campaigning and the votes go. But right now, again, Memphis won the vote. I expect it probably to stay Nicole Anthony and David Alexander. But it's Big Brother, so who knows? It may change. What else are the big deals? Some new deals trying to be made. A lot of people upset with Memphis because he's not working with anyone else. It's very much a personal game for him, and some people seeming to have some distrust of Danny as well, and some people like Bailey and Davon that are again getting a little suspicious of Danny, as is Tyler, and quite a few people. So we'll find out. All right, guys, I'm going to shut it down. Oh, it was a long night. Wow, it was a long night, but they finished the competition, and I feel so sorry. David and Nicole were both feeling pretty down that they didn't win, and I can certainly relate, but that's part of Big Brother. And it's not over yet, so we'll see what happens. Guys, y'all have a fantastic morning. Have a fantastic Sunday, and we'll be back in about 24 hours to talk about the next overnight feeds activities. Have a great one, guys. SKD 143. Cheers. Hey.